All right. Okay. Well, I think we are. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Tia Rodgers, coming to you this morning as we are continuing our series of biophysical growth and development. I'm talking about spirituality, talking about self-awareness, our environment, how we process information, um, and things of that nature. As we are getting started, first of all, let's give thanks and honor to God for waking us up this morning. First of all, let's do that because that's the most important thing. That was the best gift we got for the day. Um, we woke up this morning. We're in our right minds, able body to go out here and do what it is that we need to do to make it all right, make it all come together. I'm trying. Okay, there it is. Okay. So we're grateful for this day. Today is terrific Tuesday. So I hope that you will go out here and make it an awesome day. I know how you guys know how I like to value your time, and don't like to waste it. So we have a few minutes before we start at 10 o'clock promptly. I want you to drop a hello in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and how did you find us. That's always cool. And if you are enjoying the conversation, the topic, you have some input or comments on it, please feel free, comment. We're here so that we can kind of build together and grow. We're here to bounce things off of each other, and stretch one another as we go through this journey called life, because life, is an amazing journey. You get one, so you might as well enjoy it and do your best to prepare for the unexpected in life. Do your best to um, ensure that you are building a life and lifestyle that is going to provide you abundance, um, and not limit you in any way. But we know where there's positive, there's negatives. And should you be more in the negative side, how do you come over to the positive side, right? So it's 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go over a briefing and then we're going to pick right up from where we left off at yesterday. So we talked about spirituality as is the domain of human existence that pertains to the essence of every human being and to awareness of something greater than ourselves, right? We agree that this helps us make sense of our lives over a period of our lives, right? Having a faith base, having a creator, some to believe in something that is greater than you. Yes, you are very powerful. God gave he you're born with everything that you need on the inside. Your body can basically heal itself if you tap into those powers. Um, but it takes practice, right? It takes practice to do it. We're looking at the biophysical growth and development process, because in that ultimate amazing process of the two ovum and the sperm cell coming together, causing a combustion of chemistry that is creating a life, that is creating a brain, fingers, skin, eyes, teeth, all that. All that's on the inside, right? Just multiplying thousands of times and manifesting into a human being, you, the miracle. So there's strengths and there's hazards, in the psychological and social realms of growth and development. So we went over some of the cognitive development and information processing. How well did you do it? Are you able to process the concepts? Are you able to apply them in an appropriate manner? Being able to communicate effectively, right? Getting your point across. being able to express yourself, whether verbally or non-verbally, um, how your attitudes and your emotions impact your life and your growth and your development. You're looking at self, how you view yourself, what you're telling yourself, what are your thoughts, what are your beliefs, um, and how do you identify with yourself? And how do you identify with yourself when you're with others? And how do others identify you with them? Right? We're looking at all of that, and we're looking at um, the social component as well as the psychological. And we said the social part is our families and groups that we belong to, people, our peers, co-workers, things of that nature. We talk about communities and support systems. How strong are they, or how weak are they? Are they strained? Are they inhibiting, or do they promote growth? Organizations, social and institutional, um, multicultural. Are you a part of a diverse group of ethnic people that come from diverse backgrounds, may not come from the same place you come from? And gender consideration. Or do you hang out with just one popular generation females all together, or can you, or females or men? Sometimes they're separate groups, and men are with men, women are with women. But then, or do you have the capacity and ability to socialize amongst all gender groups? Social, what are your social strengths and the hazards of it? We talked about how your life is a miracle, and it's a precious gift that you're given every day. And every day you wake, you have the choice to make something out of that day, make it the best. So I hope that you guys have grabbed your notebook and are taking notes and answering some of the questions that we have asked you over the weeks. So that you, as you're processing and you're looking at your life, you're doing your self-assessment, you're seeing where you are, you're looking at where you're going. You're looking at everything that you have right now. What do you have right now that you can actually start today making changes in your life with, right? So we talk about how mastering your life through wealth building principles, there's always going to be a first time. There's always going to be something new for you to learn, always going to be something for you to try and experiment with for the first time, the unknown, doing something that you've never done before. And the big part of that, doing something that you've never done before, is a big part of embracing change, accepting the transitions in your life, accepting your own transformation as you evolve over every phase and stage of your life, because we're someone different. We become someone different each phase and stage of our lives, from our life experiences, the people we surround ourselves with, the environments that we put ourselves in, and how that impacts us overall. You know, looking through because I want to kind of get through. I marked all my pages for you guys. So, who you are overall. We're looking at how we want to see our lives. You know, what life do we really want to live? What is our real purpose and goal? What do we wish to achieve out of this life that we live? When we leave this plateau, what do we want people to remember us as? By what do we want people to remember us by? What do you want people to know about you? What do you want people to say about interaction and coming across you as a person? So we're talking about social skills, having the knowledge and ability to communicate effectively, being able to generate solutions to the problems that may come across in life, having the ability to not only process the solutions of the problems, to look at the consequences of the solutions that we choose to make, as well as what is our thought process for the means to the end. Where are we trying to go? What's the purpose that we're doing this for? figuring out your life story, because you're basically living your life story every day, whether you know it or not. You're living your life story every day, and every decision that you make is impacting your life. It's manifesting something. Something that you're doing today is going to manifest something in tomorrow, in years to come. So we're looking at our psychological stress, and we talked about being able to having the ability to regulate your emotions, having a high intelligence quotient, or maybe a good emotional intelligence as well to go along with it, as well as having your extroverted personality. Coming from a positive history of experiences with parents, authority figures, significant others, experiences of being valued by others, and being subjected to positive discipline, and critical life stages in your life. Teens, we all know about that, right? Because you guys get the gist of it, because as adults, we see you making some decisions for your life that we know is not going to lead you on a good path. And you're so busy trying to identify your independence of who you are. You're trying to explore and see where you fit in the schemes of things in this thing called life, your life that you're living. But the choices and decisions that you make, the attitudes and behaviors that you display, all impact your life in some kind of way. But we're going to talk more about that. Let's just continue to keep going, because we're talking about psychological stress, and these are some of the qualities that you will need. That's in the category of psychological stress. There's also the experience of having a positive life experiences. And then we talk about the psychological hazards, where if you have phases and stages of your life where you have descriptive significant events in your childhood from experiences with adults and with parents or other adults, such as like physical, sexual, and or emotional abuse, or things going on in your personal living environment, you're going to operate different. You're going to function different. You probably have less trust of people, right? So it's going to take a little bit for you to be trusting of anything new, anything different than what you have come to accustomed to from building your boundaries, establishing them, and finding out who you are and forgiving those that may have harmed you and moving past that to live a full life, right? And sometimes the choices that we make can either genetically, we're predisposed to some mental disorders. That's why knowing your family medical history is very good, because it may not happen in a generation prior to you. It could have been a couple generations back. That's maybe coming up present now in the current generation. So it's good to know these things. You want to talk about psychological hazards, the experiences with your recent life events. You know what I mean? If they're the description of significant life events in your recent years, how is life going for you now? So if things were a little hectic and not normal in your childhood, how did that significantly impact your life events, and how is that impacting your life presently right now? What's the recent experiences you had with adults and other peer figures? Are you someone that has experienced divorce? Maybe your parents divorced, and how was that divorce? Was it a good, smooth transition and loving and nurturing, or was it a little chaotic? Did it have problems going on? And the death of a loved one, that's something that is always hard on anyone. It doesn't matter what age you are. Losing someone that you love can change and impact your life in so many ways. But on your thoughts and your thoughts and your attitude and your behavior is what is going to determine whether it's positive or negative. So some of the social factors we included were the family, the community, and other social support systems. Having access to resources and the impending social environment. So we're looking at social relationships as it applies to our daily lives and our interactions with our friends and family. What are they like? Um, and problems may be related to or a direct result of the following of sociological or environmental determinants. So if you're hanging out with a group of people that are drinking and smoking and popping pills all day and exhibiting promiscuous behavior, 9 times out of 10, if you continue to roll with them, you're going to become the next one. And we know that when you make those type of choices for yourself, it leads down the path of some trials and tribulations, and you have to really be strong to go within and check yourself to say, is this really where I want to be? Is this what I want my life to be like? And if it's not, then it's time to make a change. And how do you go about making those changes, right? By simply making a decision, choosing where it is that you want to go, identifying the people that are doing the things that you would like to do, and investing in yourself to acquire the skills and the tools that's needed in order for you to successfully make that change. So yesterday we were talking about families, boundaries, and the roles, systems, and subsystems. For the family systems, is it a structured system? Is it open or closed? And how does the family define itself, right? Family patterns of communication. How's the interaction and content and processes? What are the patterns of communication and processing through communication? Because we all know any family you come to, at some point, we're going to butt heads. We're going to disagree. We may not see things from one another's perspective, but how do we work through that? How do we communicate that to each other? How do we make each other still feel seen and heard and feel valued as a member of the family, and still have an effective communication without destroying the person in any way? Takes practice and skill. It does. It takes a lot of deep breaths because we're not perfect. We all fall short. So we cannot think that we're better than the other. And that's from the smallest to the oldest in the house, but if there's a mutual respect in the home and the family and your circle network, your social network, then I'm sure you'll be able to work through it. There's patterns of conflict. Are you aware of the patterns of the conflicts that may come up in your relationships with your family, friends, peers, coworkers, people that you interact with on a daily basis? Is it verbal expression or is it nonverbal expression? And what's the effect of that? And when it comes to family satisfaction with roles and expectations, is there a clear definition of the roles within the family? I know that over the years, families and how families are even categorized now has changed. So the traditional family and roles may not apply to every family, but every family has roles that they play. There's the breadwinner, there's the homemaker. Sometimes the breadwinner and the homemaker is the same person. There's the children or grandchildren, or the grandparents may be in a home with the family as well. Depends on your ethnic, cultural background, what your family traditions are, what are the messages in your family, will determine how all of that plays out in your family. So you just have to think of what are the parent patterns of the conflict? Are they verbal and nonverbal expressly in your family? What are the rules? And is there an allocation of power? Does one person hold power in the household, or is the power uh, delegated throughout? Is it shared amongst the family? And is the role strenuous, or is it a supportive role? When it comes down to group interactions, what are the patterns of interactions with your peers and or work groups? Are you an influencer, or are you not an influencer? Does the group have group norms? And what are the other dynamics that are involved in the groups? Because behavior of individuals in the group may impact the group itself and the success and the progress of the group. So you want to pay attention to all of that. When it comes down to communication and support. So when it comes to communication and support, to what degree of attachment is important for you to feel as though you belong a part of something, or your family? Do you need it constantly by your side, or are you able to check in and get what you need to have some discussions and move on and go on and do your thing and still come back to diverse with the group, but still able to operate interdependently within the group per se? We're looking at ethnic communities and the significance of ethnic identity. So the ethnic identity groups, they have unique values, and they're adopted. Are they adopted by your community in the ethnic groups? And what are the supports and the strengths within that community? And is the community inhibiting or promoting development? These are very important factors. So support systems available, you have to look at what support systems are available. You look at the social supports would be your family, friends, extended family, social support groups, and self-help groups. When you look into institutional supports, you're talking like child support, welfare, health benefits, access to resources, daycare, recreational facilities, police protection, barriers to support systems, and being able to identify new resources and support systems. When we're looking at institutional contributions, we're looking at the environment of the institution. Is it constraining, or is it promoting certain behavior choices? When we're looking at institutions, are they in conflict, or do they fit with the existing social conditions? As we're looking at organizational contributions are sometimes informal norms, not so much structured, but it's pretty much open. It's informal. So it's probably a little bit more comfortable or different than if it was a formal organization with rules. So then there's lines of communication that you may have to go through. There might be what we call it, follow the protocol of command, the chain of command. So say lines of communication. How can I say this? Okay, so say you, the individual, say you are either a worker, a client, a customer, and you have a problem. So you want to address that problem. So you either want to take it to the person that you were interacting with and see if it can get resolved. If it cannot be resolved that way, then you may want to ask for a supervisor or someone above the supervisor. It depends on, you get the idea of what I'm talking about. You have to go up the chain to get certain answers sometimes to get the things that you want when you're working with institutions. And it's a whole different beast in itself. So you want to look at informal, is it informal norms or formal organizations, or is it a formal organization with rules? Is it lines of communication, a span of control, and what are the styles of leadership within it? So when you're looking at multicultural and gender hypothesis, you got ethnic or gender identity, and what degree of acceleration is it? Is the sexual orientation, language barriers, amount of interaction in and outside ethnic groups. So when you talk about that, because I said we're very diverse now, right? So what the traditional, if you're carrying a traditional, you have to be open to what is new now. People identify themselves how they feel they wish to identify themselves, what's how they see themselves. So we have to respect that. We also have to respect that there may be language barriers. We all don't speak the same language. We all don't come from the same cultural, ethnical background. But we all could be suffering from the same ills and issues. So you look at the amount of interaction in and outside of the ethnic group. So how much do you interact within your ethnic group, family, community, peers, and relationships, and how much do you interact outside of another group that's not part of your ethnic group, to give you some diversity to expand your horizon on life. Now, Garcia Cole and her colleagues from Assessing People of Color in 1996, I'm sharing this information with you. And her and her team, they believe that the model can be extended to other positional variables when it comes to social class, when you're talking about ethnic groups. So they classify it as sexual orientation, disabilities, unique ecology, and social environmental circumstances faced by persons of color. So the positions variables are considered the attributes of a person that society uses in process of stratification. And their categories are race, social class, ethnicity, and gender. So factors represent social addresses that influence or create alternative development pathways. How does these factors affect human behavior? Does it have a direct influence on the outcome? Well, from reading on the positional variables are mediated through the pervasive social process of racism, prejudice, discrimination, and oppression. So race operates through the creation of segregated contexts that have a pervasive influence on the development and behavior of children of color. It can be it can either be inhibiting or promoting positive environment. We're looking at our schools, our neighborhoods, and other central social institutions that service and provide children of color, and how they develop in these environments, which directly influences their personal and family development. Some of the social strengths are life experiences, language, cultural traditions, cultural continuity, family supports, other resources that may come from friends, neighbors, other informed support, key strengths for intervention plans. Social hazards it's a high rates of unemployment. There's divorce, there's poverty, there's discrimination, and there's inadequate social institutions, impoverished neighborhoods. These are all key factors that can impact an ethnic group of people. Social functioning the ability to accomplish the tasks necessary for daily living. And when we're talking about really just the basics: food, shelter, and transportation. Having to fulfill social roles defined by the community or your subcultural community. So how are we defining ourselves? How does our belief impact who we are, how we think, what's our perspective on life? Will also impede on what it is that we do every day to continue to build our lives or just live our lives, because we're lifing, right? We talked about lifing yesterday. Sometimes every day is not an exciting day. Something spectacular is not really happening in your life. But there are some things in your life that you want to change, that you want to begin to start working on. You want to start becoming better and being better in your life, whether it's understanding your biological endowment, your genes and dispositions, and so forth, as the source of the potential for the human functioning, right? Because we're all humans, so we got to figure out how we operate. We got to figure out how we work. And understanding environmental forces that may enhance or endanger the potential for society functioning. So we also want to look at the fact that we're trying to understand interactions of our endowment and environmental forces as enhancing or endangering the potential for social functioning. Understanding the person's response to change and stress. Understanding the assessment for the potential for social functioning. So social functioning basically refers to the ability to accomplish the tasks necessary for daily living. And that's where it gets down to food, shelter, transportation, being able to fulfill your role in life, whatever that role is for you. And as we begin to wrap up this morning, because I don't want to waste your time, I like to talk to you from 10 to 10:30, and I'm going to appreciate your time. I have a few questions that I want to leave you with that I've taken from Jim Rohn. They were pretty good questions. These are questions that you're going to write down, but these are questions that you're going to tuck away. As you answer them, you're going to re-pull them out as time goes on, as you're going through your process. So what do you want to do? That's a question that we have to ask ourselves. What is it that you want to do? Ask yourself also, what do you want to be? But what do you want? What do I want to be? You know, what do I do? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What is it that I want to see? And what do I have? What do I want to have? And where do I want to go? Those 5 questions, I want you to take your time and answer them. And really look at your life, assess it, look at where you are presently, look at where you're going. And as you're doing that, I want you to keep in mind that planning for your family's future with a comprehensive package customized to your needs to create a full estate planning, and you can make changes at any time at no additional cost to you. As you're planning your life, as you're raising your family, you want to make sure that you have your will and trust in place. I know it's not a topic that everybody wants to talk about, but when you look at society today, you want to make sure that you have something in place and writing, so the family's not trying to guess what it is that you wanted or going back and forth from different conversations they may have had with you, because the conversation you had with them last, you could have changed your mind since then. So if you put it in writing, it's definitely beneficial to you. And anyone that is interested in starting a will and trust, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to direct you in that area, answer any questions that you might have. I had to do it with my mother and then having to do it for myself. So it is a little emotional process because there's certain questions that have to be answered that, we have to put into place with it, so that our loved ones don't have but so much worry to make. And whoever we're going to leave in charge of the decision, should we find ourselves being incapacitated, let's make that job a little bit easier, because as a family, all we have is each other. We may not have everything, but what we have is enough. Um, but what we have is everything, and that's each other. So let's start taking care of one another. And I look forward to coming with you tomorrow. We're going to get a little bit more in depth about some of the challenges that we can have as parents in raising children, whether you're a parent, caregiver, guardian. Um, our children are growing. They're exposed to society. They're making their own choices and decisions. And how is that impacting our lives? Is it impacting us in negative ways that is not only impacting us financially, emotionally, physically, draining us? How do we overcome those challenges? How do we get through those rough waters and still be supportive of our young people as they are navigating their way through life, and trying to establish their independence? And they might not be quite making the right decisions, but we want the best for them. All we can do is offer um, suggestions, um, provide them options. But the sad part is we have to wait for them to decide what they're going to choose. And all the time, sometimes that I like to call that tough love. Sometimes that's the hardest part for a parent to go through, is to watch this child that you have put all your love into and time in, money, and energy into, to raise up, and then they get to like maybe 12 through 18, and navigating life at that time becomes very challenging because they're making the wrong choices. They may be using substance. They may be putting themselves in harmful situations, and or you, by bringing people that you don't know, they don't even know, to the home, because they're just making friends, right? Um, Friends sometimes is overrated, and it takes a lifetime to really find a real true friend. And if you do have a friend, you probably have about five that you can count on your hand. At least that's what my mother, you would always say to me, and it's proven to be true. I know a lot of people, and there's very few that I call friends, but the ones that I do know as friends, we're all on the same mind set as far as what we want for our lives, how we see our lives, where we want our lives to go. Does it always necessarily work out the way we want it? No, but do we give up and just leave it there? Mm-mm. We figured out a way how to put the positive thoughts in our mind to continue moving forward towards our goals. You set the goals to give you an outline of what it is that you are going to be tracking to move towards whatever goal it is that you have set for your life and your lifestyle. But if you impede your growth through different behaviors and different experiences that you put yourself in from making poor decisions as an adolescent, you lose time on your life. You lose time on the opportunity to invest in yourself. And not only that, you're taking a toll not only on your own personal body, mental health, and physical body, you're also putting emotional and physical stress on your caregivers, your parents, guardians, those in authority over top of you. And if you're making poor choices, I want you to ask yourself, what if what you're doing today If you continue on that path, where do you see yourself in 1 to 3 years from now? Where do you see yourself going? You don't want to keep the curfew. You don't want to abide by rules. You want to run around in the streets and do the things that you want to do that are putting you in harm's way. I don't know if you know this, but the streets ain't no place to play. The game ain't never loved nobody. The game is definitely, truly the game. But you have to love yourself. You have to care about yourself. This is not to get on you in case this happens to go past some teams or someone cares enough to share it out for some teens that you may be praying over right now to just come back into the fold of the family and get their lives together and stop putting themselves at risk and in danger. If it has not happened to you yet, if you continue to dance and play in those areas where there are high hazardous impact on your life, yes, you could go through some experiences and live through them, but you could also go through an experience and never come out to tell anyone nothing about your story. But it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. It's your choice. And you have to decide how you want to navigate your life. But to any team that is out here, and I believe I shared some stats, and I know I'm going over my time this morning, but I felt on my heart that it's important. In the state of New Jersey, our youth alcohol and substance abuse is high. You're putting yourself in danger and risky behaviors that can harm you or bring harm to others. I want you to think about what it is that you're doing. Everybody wants to party. You're not doing nothing new underneath the sun. Been there, done that. But again, I want you to look at what steps are you doing today? What you're doing today, if it's not building you, creating some type of income for you, and I don't want to even say that because it may be creating some kind of income for you, but if it's not a legal, legit income that's not going to threaten your livelihood and have you behind bars, because they're building a lot of prisons and they're building them for somebody. So you can go as a willing participant by continuing the behaviors and attitudes and things that you're doing now, or you can change it. Because innocent people get locked up too. But that's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother series of conversation. Today, my main focus is on the family, the impacts that when we're not able to regulate our emotions and attitudes and feelings of the experience, the life experiences that we're having. And I get it. As a teenager, sometimes you may not always agree with your parents' rules and regulations. You might see them as hindering your life. We don't know if it's good, a good family environment or not. But if someone's come out and they did an assessment and it was really no real serious matters, and they came out with nothing, and you're still on your destructive path, then I strongly suggest that you start looking at yourself. It's the hardest thing that you'll ever do. It's the hardest work you'll ever do. But if you start now setting your boundaries, appreciating your life, the life that God gave you and gives you breath every morning to wake up and live, find a purpose for that life. Because the party's going to always be there. but we can't guarantee that you're going to always be there. And if you are living a more riskier life, it behoove you to talk to your parents and really start thinking about putting a will and trust together for yourself. What are your wishes? For God forbid, you out here wilding, thinking you grown, and now we got a situation because you're not here no more. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's my rant for today. As we're talking about moving forward and growing and developing biologically as well as psychologically. And sometimes we are our biggest problem. Sometimes in our growth and development process, we can get in our own way. So we have to sometimes check yourself before you wreck yourself. We call it a checkup from the neck up. So if you know a troubled youth, if you know someone that is putting themselves in harm's way, try to take some time to try to understand where they're coming from. Because they may not necessarily talk to their parent. They may find someone that they can identify with that they think is easier to talk to, more comfortable. So if you're that person, I hope that you're guiding them in the right direction, because we all have a rites of passage in our growth and development. And the decisions and choices that we make the difference in our health and well-being, how well we're prepared to live this life that we're living and continue to live, and how well we're going to ride it out towards the end. And when you're young, those are your building years. Those are your, what I like to call, stash like a squirrel. This is your time to invest in you as much as you can. Don't be afraid to take risks, but take strategic, calculated risks that are going to benefit you, not take away from you. So we'll talk again tomorrow, and we'll get a little bit more in depth on how ethnic groups are impacted, different things in the community, and how we can become that vessel, that helping vessel, that voice of reason that our young people may need. I talk to them anyway, whether they listen to me or not. I always tell them, you don't have to take my advice. You don't have to do what I tell you to do. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to share it with you. And you do with it what you want. But I know that my conscience and my heart is clear, because at least I said something. I gave you a moment of time to share the goodness of God and what God can do to your life. If you open up and sit down, read the Bible. It might take you a couple times to flip the pages to read it and understand it. So it's not a book that you're going to open up and read it and you're going to get all the concepts right away. No, again, everything I talk about is long-term building. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight. It's not no magic wand. This is real personal growth and development. Putting in the time, energy, and effort to grow yourself, to build who you are, to go after your dreams, because the only thing stopping you is you. So don't limit yourself. Don't limit your abilities. And don't limit your dreams. You were born a winner from the time you were conceived in your mother's womb. You're born with everything that you need inside of you to make your life a success. It's all up to you. Make a choice today. Choose you today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and have an awesome, blessed, amazing week. Each one teach one. This is all about, we're on a mission, helping people with a hand up, not a hand out. So I hope this message touched home for somebody. Please like, share, comment as we go about getting our message out clearer and getting better every day. at investing in ourselves and become a better person in every area and aspect of our